I'm Jennifer Purcell, and welcome to my podcast, Living with an Invisible Learning Challenge, where we will discuss, discover, and learn more about the challenges and triumphs of those with NLD and other learning challenges. I do have a website for this podcast, and it is called livingwithnld.com. I also have a Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter account for the podcast. They are all under the same name, which is Living with NLD. I also have a YouTube channel for the podcast, which can be found by Googling the title of the podcast, which is Living with an Invisible Learning Challenge. I would like to tell you about a nonprofit that I use for my research for this podcast. It is called the Nbld Project, and I use their blog for my research. They are a nonprofit that is based in New York and is trying to get NBLD back on the DSM, and they provide many resources for people with NBLD on their website. I'll provide you with the website for them in the podcast description. All proceeds from the ads on this podcast will be donated towards the NBLD Project. Please feel free to explore the other topics on the podcast, and hopefully you will learn something new from them. I hope you enjoy today's episodes. To access the testimonials, there are two ways. There's a testimonial page with the full quotes, and then there is a slideshow on the home page with excerpts of the longer ones and the short ones. On the last image of the testimonial quote with Julia's quote, you can click on it and it will take you to the testimonial page where it shows you all of them with the full quoted testimonials. I did it that way because I wanted it to be easier to read on the home page, since some of them were a little longer than a testimonial usually is. And then I wanted to make sure that you could see the whole testimonial on the testimonial page. So I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, you can email me at livingwithnld@gmail.com and I will try to show you how to access it. Thank you. Hope you're having a good weekend. Bye. Hi, I would like to announce that the next Facebook chat for people with NLD and other learning challenges will be on February 19th, which is the third Saturday of that month. And for those of you who are not familiar with this group, it is a safe space for you to talk about things that you may want to, and to have it be in a safe space that you can have people who support you with what you're talking about and be able to relate to it and listen to it. And it doesn't have to be about NLD or the other learning challenges that you might have, but it can be about that if you want it to be. So that's what that group is for. And then, so again, it's on February 19th, which is the third Saturday, and it's at 10 a.m. Pacific time zone, and it usually goes until about 11:30 Pacific time zone in the morning. So if you would like to attend that group, you could email me at livingwithnld@gmail.com, or you can go to Living with NLD on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter and message me about it. Thanks. And today I am very excited to announce that BetterHelp is now sponsoring this podcast. I have had 7 years of therapy, so I know it can help change your life if you not only let it, but work on the personal goals that you set with your therapist. Without a healthy mind, being truly happy and at peace is hard. The good news is therapy works. But what is therapy exactly? It's whatever you want it to be. Maybe you're not feeling motivated right now and would like some tools to help. Or maybe you're feeling insecure in relationships at work, not dealing well with stress. Whatever you need, it's time to stop being ashamed of normal human struggles and start feeling better because you deserve to be happy. And now you don't have to worry about finding an in person therapist near you to help. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist. So you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's more affordable than in person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours. Join the millions of people who are seeing what online therapy is really about. It's always a good time to invest in yourself because you are the greatest asset. And special offering to listeners of Living with an Invisible Learning Challenge. You can get 10% off your first month of professional therapy at betterhelp.com/. I'll put in the link in the podcast description for you. That's BetterHelp, HELEP. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this podcast. Hello, so today's topic will be on NLD, love, support, being needed, and advocacy. Have you ever wished you could be loved, supported, or advocated for more? Or felt like you wish others needed you or your help? I have felt these emotions due to NLD. Fortunately for me, I do have a supportive family that does advocate for me, but sometimes I wish others outside my family would do the same. But how can they if they don't know what NLD is, aren't aware of it, or don't know how to help me and others like me? This is why I advocate for myself and others more, because I suspect that they may not have enough of that in their life from the ones who who they need it from the most. And I also suspect that not everybody like me has a supportive family and friends, and that's why I try to support others with NLD or other learning challenges as well. I hope that I make you all who have NLD or other learning challenges feel needed, loved, supported, and advocated for by giving you this podcast. Not only do I do those things, but I also try to be authentic and vulnerable so you know more about the challenges I experience and have experienced, and that I know or can empathize with what it's like to be an NBLDer in your shoes, even though it might not be the same as my experience. Here's an article from the Nbld Project titled "The Importance of Having an Advocate" by Aline, who aims to do my best in life. I love to laugh and enjoy life, which is why Jim Adams is the greatest advocate I could ever ask for in life, as he is the same. His endless love and care, along with wonderful laughs with me, give me the strength to keep beating the odds. That's a quote that describes Aline, and a quote from her article. Quote, "By gaining Jim as an advocate, he became my go-to person in high school. While my teachers loved my work ethic and the personal growth I exhibited, he went the extra mile for me. For example, when I had my first anxiety attack at school, he came right to the nurses to support me. Another example is when I was applying for college. He truly was the only one I could open up to about the decisions I was making and understood me while others didn't. Raising a special needs son of his own, it was special to him to watch me flourish and grow in a fully inclusive environment. End quote. I also had tremendous amount of support from my GSI Alex in college. But even before college, I had a lot of support. I had many tutors who helped me in middle school and high school with pretty much every subject from math to English, history, and science. And I didn't know I needed that support because of NLD back then, but that was why I needed it. And I have featured some of the tutors on this podcast and talked about how they have helped me. In college, the help that I got were not only from tutors, but from my mom and from one of my GSIs, Alex. Alex has been interviewed on this podcast in episode 19. He was the best GSI I had in college. He would spend extra office hours with me, help me with drafting essays. He would let me record him in office hours and let me bring my dog with me as well. The reason he was my favorite GSI is because he went the extra mile for me, like Aline had with Jim. And he and my mom, like I said earlier, were advocates for me in college. Of course, my mom and my family are still advocates in my adult life. They encourage me when I feel discouraged. They make me feel needed by letting me help out at work and at home. They love and support me no matter what I have put them through because they love me and they know I need the support. They also want me to succeed in life. I know that not everyone with NLD receives the same kind of love, advocacy, support, and needs that I do. And that's why I'm glad I have Nbld, so I can be the advocate and leader for the ones who don't have it. I mean, not the ones that don't have NLD, but the ones who don't have that kind of support. The ones who feel invisible but want to be seen and say, I'm here, hello, does anyone see me? And that I need help. Here's an article from West Virginia University that talks about different types of advocacy. Quote, advocacy involves promoting the interests or causes of someone or a group of people. An advocate is a person who argues for, recommends, or supports a cause or policy. Advocacy is also about helping people find their voice. There are three types of advocacy: self-advocacy, individual advocacy, and systems advocacy. The CED is involved in all areas of advocacy for people with disabilities and their families. End quote. People with NLD need to advocate for themselves when they don't receive it from others because that's the only one who can do it until others know what they need, know more about NLD and understand it more. Sorry, I'm messing up on the script. All of that may not happen until it's back on the DSM or until they listen to podcasts like mine. I hope that you will advocate for yourselves and others like you so strongly and visibly that neurotypicals can't ignore you anymore. Of course, there are neurotypicals that want to learn about NLD, but it's the ones that don't know about it that are most important to reach out to because maybe they can learn something from it. Also, maybe they will realize they know someone with NLD by learning more about it and therefore can help them more now than they could beforehand. Here's an article from Understood.org about self-advocacy, what it looks like, and 3 things it contains. What is self-advocacy is the title, by Andrew M. I. Lee. Quote, being a good self-advocate has big benefits for kids and adults who learn and think differently. People who know how to self-advocate are more likely to do well in school, work, and life. They often feel confident in what they're learning and doing. Self-advocacy also creates independence, and it empowers people to find solutions to problems that others might not be aware of. Self-advocacy has 3 key elements: understanding your needs, knowing what kind of support might help, and communicating these needs to others. End quote. This article does a very good job of stating why one should be a self-advocate and the elements it has. As I wrap up today, I hope you learned something new about advocacy, need, how to support and love ones with NLD. And this doesn't just apply to people with NLD, it applies to people with other learning challenges as well. And also neurotypicals, because there are neurotypicals out there that need advocacy, like Black people and Asian people and brown people. And if you know people whose skin color is different from yours in your life, please try to advocate for them in the right way. And you might be able to do that by just listening to them and hearing them out when they are in need of support and need somebody to listen to them and maybe need a shoulder to cry on. And sometimes that's all the support that someone needs, but other times they need more support in terms of maybe advice or helping them with getting a job, or helping them figure out how to talk to somebody who might be challenging to talk to. So there are many different ways you can support people, whether they're neurotypical or neurodiverse. And I just want you to be reminded of that with today's episode. So please answer this question. How do you advocate for yourself when no one else in your life does? And also, how do you advocate for others? You can answer on Spotify, YouTube, livingwithnld.com, or email me at livingwithnld@gmail.com if that's more private for you. Thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you next Friday. See ya. As I wrap up, there are some things I would like to share with you. I do have a website for this podcast. It is called livingwithnld.com. I also have a Facebook and Instagram page for this podcast. It is called Living with NLD. I will include the links for those in the description. In conclusion, I would like to hear from my audience. If you know individuals with NLD that I could interview for this podcast, please email me at livingwithnld@gmail.com. What are you interested in learning about NLD? I know I'm not an expert, but I do know I have the living experience of having it. I would like you to practice journaling about your gifts and differences. Also see if there is a way that you can make that difference become easier for you to do than it originally was. Thank you for listening today, and please go to my YouTube channel and subscribe to it. Thank you. Bye.